All right, guys. Episode 2 of Fan Seat at the Table. I got my man Darryl, otherwise known as D. We've been working AFC Shakedown for years. I met him through my man Tommy at Mafia Sports Report. I'm gonna have him on. He's a quasi cover guy, more fan, but he still does some stuff. So I guess maybe he's not totally a fan, but he's a great guy. We just click really well, and I've enjoyed so much of his takes because he's not really a Hopi man. I think he's fair. He makes some really great calls when we do AFC Shakedown. He's made some big time calls for some teams out there. I was like, "You crazy, D," and it came out. So he knows the game, and I'm always looking forward to hear what he's saying. Again, this is not. I don't have a seat to tell. I'm not a big guy, but I like to give fans all that they can as far as letting their voice out. So that's what I do here, D. I'm in charge, not Tommy.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. I almost need to pinch myself, Curtis, because I've been seeing all the content, the more and more content you've been putting out, and it's been amazing. I'm so happy to be on, and I'm excited because we have a lot to talk about, Curtis. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get to we do.
Know.
But just to reiterate what you were saying is that yes, if to everyone who's going to watch this, I met Curtis through a mutual friend, and we do the AFC Shakedown throughout the season, where every member on the panel represents a team from the AFC East, and we just so happen to be lucky that we have two Dolphins content, on there. That and it's pretty exciting. We have a great time. So this is not just a fan appreciation here or on here to talk. We're very familiar with ourselves here.
That's right. That's right. And we needed the help the last couple of years, man. It hasn't been easy being a Dolphin fan. The highs, the lows. And so yeah, it was good. Always good having someone in the background to help me out, man. Sometimes I just hang my head. But hopefully this year is different, Dave. All right, so we got some big news. Why don't we just work off? I want to hear what you have to think. What's your take on, obviously, the trades over the last 2 days, the situation, the lowdown, the skinny? Give it to me, D style.
Oh well, I like the trade with Ramsey and John. I do like that. You get rid of one player that basically obviously did not want to be here. We did have to eat.
Why do you think he didn't want to be here? What's your take on that?
Good question. I'm still going to revert back and say we still don't know, and I know we touched on this on the podcast a while back, but it seems from different reportings that we're hearing that maybe he was asked to change a position, maybe to safety. He didn't agree with that, and this was the rabbit hole that we went down with Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if that's true. That's pure speculation. That's what's being reported, but it very well could be. But I'm happy that we're past that stage with Jalen Ramsey. He's gone. John, a lot of people were very opinionated about that because he had such a great season. I believe a lot of people were saying he had the best season as a Miami tight end for the Dolphins. So
broke a lot of records.
But with that being said, on the age and what he was asking for, I think that was a smart decision to trade him.
12 mil, man.
12 mil. So that was a lot. That was a lot. So I'm not unhappy with that trade. I think that was smart. I think this team is on kind of we're going to touch base on this a little bit later about vision and identity and where this team is going. But it seems like we might know of where this team might be going as far as trying to find an identity.
That's the key. We had something of an identity, but I don't think it was incoherent identity.
Correct. So, what were your thoughts about the trade?
Look, from all I hear, at first I heard it was because they wanted to play safety. Then I heard it was because he really doesn't like Mike McDaniel and the culture. I don't know. He wanted out. He was serious. He pushed it. We weren't going to be able to keep him. And John had wanted too much money They say he wanted to stay in Miami, but he wanted the money more. He would have stayed in Miami. So we were really in an untenable situation. Nobody wanted to give good picks for an old cornerback who was extremely expensive. So we took on 18 to get rid of him. Jonnu wasn't sticking. We had to move off him, and we picked up Minka Fitzpatrick and a fifth. We gave, like, I think, a seventh away too. But people were talking about Ramsey getting only a fifth for Ramsey. We got the fifth, and we got Minka, which I'll let you talk about that. So ultimately, I think, look, that was about as good as you were going to get. He was going to have to be player for player. You lost coverage and you gained coverage. So I'm fine with it. I don't think you could have done better. What else could you do? You can't pay Jonnu, and Ramsey ain't staying. What do you do?
I agree. I think it was they made off pretty good. I wouldn't say they made off well, but
No.
I'll take it all day. Now, obviously, we need, if you want to talk about the Darren Waller trade, obviously that happened today. A lot of questions regarding that trade. A lot of questions. Because there's a lot of ifs when you talk about Darren Waller. There's a lot of ifs. There's injury concern, where his mind at as far as coming back and playing football.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ifs there.
It was cheap though.
It was. I like to call that move. I'll kick the tires on that. I'll kick the tires. Now,
roll them dice.
roll the dice. What I thought was interesting, though, is maybe obviously they know more than we do. Is that Tanner Connor? He's had
Connor Tanner. I don't know. I still don't know.
Right, but he seems that he's got that motto of we're going to shine in practice, but come game time, he kind of just disappears. I believe last year he had a first start against the Texans, didn't really show up. He is more of a pass catching tight end, not really a blocker, but that's what we have Farrow in there for, and Julian Hill.
Exactly.
So maybe they didn't feel comfortable yet with Tanner Connor or Connor Tanner.
Two of them. We get two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one. But I thought it was an interesting move because yes, it wasn't a lot that we spent. I believe it was maybe up to $5 million is going to be some incentive there. But interesting move. I don't know, and I know that the Dolphins offensive coordinator has ties to him and stuff like that, but. Just a very, very interesting move. I don't know. That's going to be. We have to see how that's going to play out.
Well, the way I figure it is, you got a tight end department that lost Jonnu. You've got to do something to bolster it. I heard Mayer from Vegas. They don't want to get rid of him. You're really not finding anybody else. This is a low risk role. But if you look at a guy 6'6", and I looked at his 23 film, they would ask him to do a lot of blocking. He was older, but guy catches with his hands. He's got a huge catch radius. He's a tall guy, one-dimensional guy. But, with the way Tua throws the football, at the accuracy, it could get you. I mean, if you're paying a couple of million for this guy, and you're in a 2nd and 5, and you get him in there, and they don't know what you're going to do because you're running the football, hopefully. Or you're in the red zone, this guy could be a target and maybe give you 10 first downs for the season that are big first downs, or maybe 2 or 3 scores. And if that's the case, and you got your big blocking Farrell Brown, hopefully Julian Hill becomes something, drops the football, fumbles the football, and misses blocks, maybe he steps up. They got that guy Conyers. A lot of people are high on him as the undrafted rookie. And you got Tanner. At least you got competition. You got competition, and he's a vet. Like, even if you dump this guy, say before the season starts, he's in there helping some of these guys how to catch, teaching them little things. Farrell Brown's a long tooth, but he's not a receiving threat. And so, at the very least, you get a little tutelage, a little veteran, hopefully leadership, and maybe he's a situational guy. Because reality is, we're going to 3 wides, 11 personnel. Tight ends are going to be there to block, be outlets, which they were kind of with Jonnu anyway. So I just think that this guy, if McDaniel's got to change some stuff, but in a situational setting, limited reps, he's a guy you can bring in. And so maybe he does something. If not, you kick him out, and you're not losing much. But maybe he can give you, 300 nice yards, 350 nice yards, a 10 first downs, 3 to 4 TDs or 3 TDs. And that could be different. Because think about it. If you come out in that 11 personnel and it's a definite passing setting, you've got H.N. in the background, you've got Westbrook or Washington in the slot, or Westbrook on the boundary and Hill or Washington in the slot and Waddle out there. Just imagine those guys going out along with Waller if he's available, because he's going to be one-on-one. And you go back and you look at his film in 23, when he was asked to catch the football, he had a 4% drop rate, which put him right up there with Cooper Kupp and Kincaid from Buffalo. The guy doesn't drop the ball, and he's very good with his hands. He catches with his hands. So maybe he can give you a little bit. He's not going to be a starter. He's not going to be a Jonnu with 800 yards or whatever. But that's not what you want this season, at least what they think they want, So I don't know. It is what it is. It's typical Dolphins. It probably will fail, but if it doesn't and you get a little bit of good production out of it, it's worth it. And he only gets what he earns. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think they're expecting, if they can get something out of him. When we lost Jonnu, and everybody was like, oh my God, we gave up Jonnu Hill, and I was like, well, I think there's a lot of intangibles to the Miami Dolphins offense. There's a lot of upside right now. On the offensive side, I'm not really concerned for the Miami Dolphins. There's a lot of playmakers. Malik Washington. We got this the guy that we just got from the Titans, Westbrook Akine. There's a lot of different options. Running back, we got some options. So I wasn't too concerned about that. We got a good blocking tight end in Farrell Brown. Yeah. But this could add a little seasoning, a little bit more, maybe. Yeah. We got to see how it plans out.
I mean, I would have loved if you could have gone out and got a guy who can block pretty good and catch pretty good. I would have loved that. But you ain't getting it now. Mayer was the big hope, it's not happening. So we got to run the football. It's all going to come to this offensive line until we're staying healthy and running the football inside. So,
and that's my other concern that I was going to touch on is going into and it's still, I wouldn't say it's early, but we're kind of at that midway point right now. So this is actually the first year that I've kind of actually thought about this and never really kind of put it into perspective. The process and the breakdown of how the offseason is. So there's free agency, there's the draft, then there's undrafted, and then now we're going to be going into late signings if someone's still on the street, and then we have that phase of training camp, and then there's going to be cuts after training camp, and we could pick up somebody from there. So it's still a long process because right now some people are freaking out. Like when I look at the depth chart right now, I'm just like, we have no depth at offensive line. It's going to be tough to get depth.
We got whoa. We got Liam. He is the heart, according to Butch Barry. He's soul, the glue to this offensive line. We got loads of depth galore.
That's what concerns me going into this season is depth. There's a lot of ifs on this team.
Yes. We got it stacked a mile high of ifs.
A lot of ifs. And then where I'll go into this is that where I was just bringing up about identity. What is the identity of this team?
You tell me. What does you see as the identity? Tell me.
I think we're a little lost. I think we're trying to find an identity, and I was scrolling across the internet the other day and I found this old clip. I don't know how I came up on it, but it was this old clip about with Manny Fernandez from. So if anybody who out there doesn't know who Manny Fernandez, he was a D tackle on the no-name defense when the Dolphins went undefeated. And it was on an old podcast with OJ McDuffie and somebody else.
Cool.
Yeah. And he talks about how when he was first initially playing with the Dolphins, they were being coached by George Wilson. And George Wilson was a player's coach, and he would drink with them every Thursday, and they would go out and have a blast. They didn't win many games, he says. The next year, Don Shula comes in, and it was night and day. He said, completely night and day.
Yeah.
But Shula brought an identity to that team of toughness, and this is what we're going to do. So I feel like the Dolphins, they're trying to find that identity. Even the players are coming.
Can they find it with McDaniel? Do you think they can?
That's no, I don't.
No,
No, I don't. And the reason why they, when now could that change possibly? I think winning can heal a lot. Winning can heal anything.
Look how much of a genius he was the first 2 seasons.
Right, but it bothers me when you see players. Chubb was honest. He came out and said, "Well, we were lying. We last season we talked about toughness." So I think this season is going to be a lot of self growth and figuring out for the Dolphins.
I agree.
I think
we don't know. We really don't know.
We
can lean. We could say, right. Hey, McDaniel, this is his personality. You got the substitute teacher. He's your best friend. All of a sudden, he starts whipping the crack in the whip, and you're like, what? I don't buy that. So we'll see.
We'll see. I think obviously the way how they're doing things has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. I touched on earlier before. It seems like we're going a little bit more younger, more trying to find guys to prove themselves. Yeah. The safety room is going to be, and the defensive back or room is going to be interesting now that we have Minka.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's some. I would really like to see where they're going to go with at the corner position, because that's a glaring issue right now. Unless come training camp, we can see some of these young guys really step up and show that they've earned the number one, starting role on this defense. But right now, there's some glaring holes there.
Yeah, I got a take on it. So, scheme and philosophy can go a long way to setting up your talent. And from what I'm seeing, and just my take, we're playing cover 2 high. You make sure you don't get any big plays off. You got Minka there. You got Melifanu. You got the kid from the Jets. You got a few other bodies in there. You're going to kind of keep everything in front of you. Make sure you keep the top safe. And then you're going to try to close down the middle. And you got Dotson, who's a good cover guy. You got Brooks, who's a good cover guy. And then you got a front that's supposed to be very good. That's going to be able to get after guys. And, you got Kohu at the nickel. And so if you're playing zone, those corners, if it's good, we're probably not going to be playing all zones. It's going to be some man. But when you really look at a zone corner, their responsibilities are much, much less than when you're running man. And it's actually easy to find zone corners. They got to be smart, they have to have, but they don't have to be super athletes. That was the problem with Flores. So, if you just keep everything in front of you, you get after the quarterback, control that run. Maybe they matriculate down to the red zone, but in the red zone, your cornerbacks playing zone, it's not going to be such a hindrance. You're going to have a Minka, you're going to have Dotson, you're going to have Brooks, and you're going to have this good front. So maybe you can limit the threes, kind of like the way teams play us. And maybe that's the game plan. Bend but don't break. Okay, give you threes up or whatever, and occasionally you'll get some stops. But it's all about this front and now the top. And with those linebackers tying together, the edges, if you're playing a lot of zone, and Weaver showed he's a tactician, so you can mix that up so it's not just a flat Tampa 2 kind of zone. Maybe, Duck and I don't think Cam at all. No way Cam at all.
No.
Boner and Bonner and I don't know. We'll find some other guys, I don't know. But you can minimize that weakness by playing this kind of defense. So maybe that's, maybe you can find a cornerback out there's a vet. And so if we're playing lots of zones, I don't think it's a big deal. And it looks like that's what we're going to be doing. So I don't know. It's going to be all about the front. We can't get any injuries. I mean, Brooks goes down or Dotson goes down or Sealer goes down. It's going to be problems. We're thin in a lot of ways, but I do think there's a way. But it's really, if you think about it, it's going to be about this offense. This offense has got to produce. if this offense is putting a lot of points on and they're doing their little things, slowing its stuff down, then it should be. McDaniel's got to win it this year with his offense.
It seems like they're on the right track for the to build it correctly. There's still, question
Philosophy is
marks.
good.
Yes, it seems like they might have smartened up on that aspect. We just have to see how it plays out. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I can't fault the philosophy. I just want the applications,
Right, right. It'll be interesting to see how Patrick Paul looks this year. You know what I mean? This
Yeah,
is going to
big.
be,
A lot
you
of
know,
those ifs on the offensive line.
big time, big time. You know what I mean? Um, Patrick Paul, James Daniels coming off an Achilles,
Jackson got a
Austin
new injury.
Jackson,
Got a new
yeah.
injury.
Um, and I mean, they got Jonah there. He's going to be a rookie. Where they're going to put him? It looks like it's going to be the left side, but
Yeah,
let's see. But so a lot of question marks. Camp is going to tell a little bit.
yeah.
Um, Jalen
Thank
Wright
God
looks.
we got Eichenberg. I feel much better now.
Hey, I'll say this. You know what I mean? As of right now, he's in the backup role, but he's got experience. He's got experience. I know he can be a turnstile at times, but
So did Dallas
he-
Thomas. Remember
yeah,
him?
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to find any depth at offensive line
No.
at this point at all. But hopefully on the defensive side, we can find some, like I said, some corners.
There's got to
What do
be
you?
long tooth out there, corner.
I know. What were your thoughts about Minka coming back? I heard some rumblings. You know what I mean. Last season he didn't play. The stats were off or the numbers were off a little bit on him. What do you think about that?
Well, it's hard to say. You got to go back to the tape. What was he asked to do? Was the guy nicked up all year? There's so many little things that could throw a guy off. He hasn't been great for 2 seasons. I freaked out. I was so in love with Minka. I wanted him. We drafted him. I knew about his life. I told my wife about it. She's like, "Oh, that's so great, dear." Year later, just about he's gone. She's like, "What happened to this guy?" I'm like, "He's a jerk. Did he got himself off the team?" I've never heard of that second year guy muscling the franchise to like getting him out of here. But he's back. He's a good player. At the worst case scenario, he's probably the best safety we've had since. I love the kid we got from Detroit who got concussions, who got knocked out the one season we had him. Rashad Jones was very good.
He was
Allen
very
had
good.
that amazing 1 year. But I think that bottom line is he can do a lot of stuff. And he might be that, he does miss some tackles, but he could be the chess piece that comes in that Weaver can move around because he was a corner. So he can kind of cover some guys. He can be that general, the field general type. I think he's a good player, man. I don't think you're gonna have any problems with him. He's really serious about his reputation, his resume. I don't know if he's happy about coming here. I don't know about that. There'll be a lot of questions and stuff like that. But I think the guy's one of the better safeties in the league at the floor of it. So, it's weird. He fights his way off because he doesn't like Flores or whatever. So people saying it's a fight with or something. I don't know. But then you get another guy in here who doesn't like the coach, fights his way off, and you go get the guy who didn't like the coach and he comes back. So I don't know. I don't know. But I think he'll like Weaver. I think he'll be good with Weaver.
I think so too.
Weaver will use him well. So I think I think he's gonna set the table as far as the top. But he's not what he was, I don't think. Unless maybe he's, had it down 2 seasons, some nicks, and maybe not being used properly. But he's good.
I think.
What
He's
do you
gonna
think? We're not here for me. We're here for you.
I think he's going to bring some leadership to that defensive back group. I think it was a solid pickup. You know what I mean? For the most part, he stayed healthy. I know there was one season, I can't say it on top of my head, but he missed some games. But for the most part, he's been reliable. He's been healthy.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and
we need that. We got a bunch of guys that always get injured.
Oh yes, that is a that is a major problem with the Dolphins. But I see nothing but positives, especially for the group that we have right now, and the fact that he's going to allow some other players to possibly move around.
Yeah,
Possibly. you know, and I'm mostly talking about. I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm just gonna call him Iffy. I'm just gonna call him. I'm just gonna call him Iffy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe we can move Cater around somewhere. I don't like Cater on the boundary, but
But if he's playing zone, he could do that. I don't like him in man
yeah,
coverage. He gets beat. He gets
yes,
burned mid to late clock.
correct, yeah.
But it looks like
So
we're playing a lot of zone.
okay, what?
But you know what's funny? I just thought about when you were talking. They Steelers let him go for Deshaun Elliott, who we got rid of, and he was having a stop.
I
Is that
know,
odd? What a
and
circle, man.
I saw Deshaun Elliott. I think they just re-signed him
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
another
yeah. They're,
contract. Yeah.
they're leaning into him because they got rid of Minka. They got another guy. I can't remember his name. He's like a younger guy to play the free safety role
Wow.
for the Steelers. So
Are
I
you
like
heading?
Deshaun Elliott.
I do too. I do too. He
He's
was a
not a
fun
cover
player.
guy, but I still remember that hit on in the Dallas game. He saved us.
Oh yeah.
That hit
Oh
at the
yeah.
one, like the zero or whatever.
Yep.
That was like he had a good year, But he was kind of like Jones that went to the. We don't like those guys for some reason.
No.
I don't know
But
why.
I was gonna ask you a question. We're not in training camp yet, but what is your vision of what you're seeing right now? Is what as of right now where the Dolphins are going to be at this season?
Well, I think I just talked about the defense. I think it's going to be bend but don't break, rely on that front, make sure they have to matriculate. And that's a coherent build, even with the flaws on the side. McDaniel, he's looking to lean into the leverage, get those three wide receivers. The only way he can do it is if he gets better blocking up front, some more true sets, because you pass sets. We've been the last in the league for years on that one. And then you're going to try to, I think, run more inside zone and kind of adjust that leverage. I don't think we're going to be a power team, but if you think about it, look at the leverage you get all these years with just dysfunctionality most of the time on the offensive line and zero interior run game. If you can even get a little bit and some decent pass blocking, and you've got Hill or Waddle, Achan, and Westbrook and Washington. If you just get those linebackers creeping up, you get them out of the shell coverage, get them to blitz a little bit more, then maybe that. But I'm a little hesitant because that offense won't carry too much in really bad weather. When a really bad weather comes, it's going to kind of have to be more physical. So we've got to see Paul, Savaianaya, Brewer, Daniels, and Jackson. How do they perform? If they could be physical, dig guys out, then the leverage that we can create, I think even in the cold weather could be pretty good. I don't think it's the most conducive 11 personnel. It would have been better if we were in a cold and more cold teams in our division. I mean, warm teams in our division. But I think that's going to be the play. Create more space with these receivers. Get your fast guys out of there and then run like a Wright and Ollie Gordon inside. Force that leverage to change. And you got Farrell Brown. So I think that's the dream. I think McDaniel's got to add some kind of audible system. I think McDaniel's got to get the play in quicker. I think he's got to have better touch, because it's going to demand him to be a better tactician. You're not just handing it over to the offense to go out there and let them do their thing. There's going to have to be some kind of audible system. But I think that's the whole kit and caboodle. It's semi-coherent, but there's all those ifs we talked about. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have to come through on our side.
I think as much as I've expressed how I'm very concerned about the cornerback position, I think it's the pass rush is vital because of what you have right now. When you talk about Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, Chubb, let's see what Grant can do. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing somebody here, but there's one more. But we got.
Yeah, I like Phillips that we got in the draft, but
Yeah.
he's going to be a low, sealer.
I mean, that defensive front, it can be a long night for any team. But if that defensive front can really produce a lot of pressure, it can make the secondary, take a little bit
Yeah.
of pressure off of the secondary. So that's going to be, to me, that's the key right there. But we got some guys coming off of injury. So Chubb, Phillips, they're coming off of injury. Chop is going to be interesting. Chop will be
Yeah,
interesting. A lot of people are predicting he's going to have a breakout season.
he could.
He very well could.
He's got to stop the run better. That's going to be the key. I don't even care
Yes.
about his pass rush. I know that's there. It's stopping the run.
Yes, I absolutely agree. But let's see. I heard some good things about Willie Gay in the
Yeah.
OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming off of a Super Bowl winning team. Let's see what he can do.
He's a big guy.
He is. He is.
He blew up Jalen Wright in practice or one of the OTAs or something. So.
Did he really?
Yeah. Oh, he's a big dude. Yeah. Yeah. Big
So
dude.
we will see. We will see.
So what do you think? All right. Give me your prognostication. How you think this thing's going to play out? Do you think McDaniel's going to make it through the season? And do you think if it fails, Greer will be back? Because that's really the key, ain't it?
I think Grill will be back regardless, at least until the offseason.
Could have ended with that and they kept me smiling,
I think Greer will be back.
And back. That guy's like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees.
Yes. Yeah. He I think he will be back. I think McDaniel will be back as well. I initially last season predicted that if the Dolphins started out rough, that they would can him early on in the season. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a 500 team, a little bit more, maybe over. It's tough to stay healthy during the NFL season. If we stay healthy and the players that we acquired produce well and everything gels perfectly. See, that's the thing too, is with any team sport, and I've played sports my whole life, is that you can have the best players on your team, but it's got to gel. And when it gels, it's great. And when it doesn't gel, it can go really, really bad. You know what I mean? So if everything works cohesive and it's molding and it's
well, give me a 3-game window. What do you think? You said 500. Like, what's the peak of what you think we can achieve? 3 games. 7 to 10, 8 to 11.
That's a good one.
I said 8 to 10, maybe 7 to 10. Like the stretch goal would be 10.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be a 9-win team. There's just not enough depth on there. But hey, if it turns the table and things end up working really well and everything's fluid, offensive line play is good. That's such a big, vital.
Oh, that's everything. Health. That's the key thing with us. Health, especially on the O-line.
If the O-line can work cohesively and build some chemistry, and we can run the football, especially in December, in those cold weather games on the road, that would really be beneficial. But that's when it's going to really show. If we're healthy and if we can change our identity, which I've been mentioning, and we can run the ball and play some hard-nosed football, I think we could be on the upside of maybe a 10-11 team winning those hard games. We haven't fared well on the road in cold weather games, as we all know.
No. No. So do you think Tua is going to make it through the whole season uninjured?
No,
you don't.
No.
What does that say for him then? Are we sticking with him past next year, if that's the case?
I think they're going to know that they shouldn't stick with him, but at that point, I think he's probably going to show you enough to be like, man, when he's healthy, he's in there and he's making plays, but man, he's just, these injuries are tough. You know what I mean? I was actually thinking about that before we came on the podcast, and I was talking to Tommy about this. Is that injuries? I was thinking about James Daniels. That was our big acquisition on the offensive line. James Daniels, Achilles with injury. And Tommy was talking to me about it because I tore my patellar tendon playing sports. It's one of the worst injuries ever. And I am not a professional athlete. I did it playing sports, but getting back from these injuries, and Tua's had a lot of they never fully disclosed what really happened with the hip last season. They were just
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're not, we're kind of out of contention, yes and no, but just sit it out. And it kind of went away. And he spoke on it a little bit in the OTAs, and he was like, yeah, we're not going to talk about that, but I'm good. So it's just kind of a little interesting as
It's
far as
like everything. It's always fog of war. You never get straight answers.
right. So injuries are tough to come back from, especially when they accumulate over time. And he's still young. It's a
Yeah.
possibility. I think if he's smart and he said some things that, what season was that when it was the chunky Tua and he didn't really,
23.
23.
Yeah,
Um,
he didn't get hurt.
yeah. Football's a tough game, man. It's not,
Brutal.
it's a gladiator sport. The odds of being injured, is just, especially the quarterback, running back,
Yeah.
any position, it's just so high. And he has a really bad injury history. I don't think his body is really built up for this game.
No,
His
it's
heart
not.
is.
Yeah.
His heart
Oh,
is
his heart is
definitely.
definitely.
His
Yeah.
heart
You
is,
can't
but
question that.
yeah, but his body is just. I don't think, and we'll see. Hopefully, I do wish him a healthy season. I think
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a good
you know,
guy, dude. You can't. I don't think you cannot like the guy. He's a nice guy, but it's just when you're starting out with that question like on him, and then you're going to question on Paul, question on Jackson, question on Daniel, question on Will Hills. I think he's gonna play great. He's won because he wants more money after he gets cut next year. But when will he freak out if things get tough? And then you go to the other side. There's a lot of questions. But we've rolled snake eyes for so long. Maybe finally we get the miracle roll. I don't know. We'll see.
I
We'll
just think
see.
about, I saw Teron. I'll just say this real quick. I saw Teron Armstead. He seems like he's like doing like a lot of podcasts
Yeah, yeah.
and
He's trying
stuff
to be a
like
presence
that.
now. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Proud of
I love
him.
that
Yeah,
guy.
that's good stuff. And he was talking about the defensive end for the Rams. Is it Curse or Jim or
Verse, Jared
Verse?
Verse.
And he
Yeah.
says, "Man, I really don't. I'm happy I don't have to see that guy anymore." And I think about this, and I'm just like, I mean,
Oh, he was playing on a knee, man. He said he was on
he,
bone for like a year. That's
yeah,
crazy what
and
that guy went through.
I'm just like, man, I hope this O line holds up because, you know, there's some mean guys out there that are that are coming to try and take your head off. So
Yep. Yep.
it's going to be tough.
I think if the O line can perform and stay healthy, not let Eichenberg in, I think we got a chance to do something. But it's geometrically going to get harder and harder if there's injuries on this O line or guys aren't doing what they're supposed to. It's all about the offensive line. They've done some good stuff. I think they've kind of headed in the right direction philosophically. But, there's the philosophical side, and then there's the application, and then there's the luck rolls in between. So I think it's going to be a really interesting season. I really do. I'm very happy about the direction in many regards, but there's so much curiosity. There's just so many big stories. You can just go down the list. You can't just do top 10. It's like top 20 big stories. So I think it's going to be an interesting season. I just don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think we're going to be 12, 13 win team. It's going to be somewhere in that middle scrum where there's a couple of big games, 2 or 3 games, or injuries can make all the difference. And you're going to have to wait to see, starting with camp. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the season. Not so much for like saying, oh, we're going, but hey, we got something here. What works, what doesn't, and how does it play out, So
I think, yeah, that's the exciting part is that they've kind of turned a little corner here, and let's pump the brakes a little bit. We're gonna make some additions and subtractions, but we're gonna try something a different route here, and let's see how it goes. And um, they, shout out to the Dolphins for getting some offensive line help going young. Um, let's see.
wow, rocket
Let,
science, man.
let's see how that plays out.
That's it, brother. All right. Well, thank you for stopping by, D. I really appreciate it. You definitely got to do this again. We'll probably be doing the AFC Shakedown stuff coming up. But guys, D is a great guy, longtime fan. Him and Tommy actually played basketball against Jason Taylor and
Yep.
some other guys for Dolphins. So they are Floridians. They've been around for a long time, seen a lot of stuff. So thank you for coming on, D. I really appreciate it. It's just been a pleasure knowing you. I hope the viewers enjoyed their time with you, and I didn't talk too much. Anyway, there's nothing you put out there that you could like they can go to see you or something like that besides AFC Shakedown.
No, I was just on the AFC Shakedown. I was going to start doing some podcasts on YouTube, but time restraints, running a business, it's tough. So,
I know
you
you're a
know,
businessman, man.
I'm a businessman, so it's very, very tough. But I appreciate you, Curtis, having me on. It's a
Anytime,
blessing,
brother.
and I'm always going to support you and your content.
Oh yeah,
And
you on my Monday Night Live that one time too. I forgot about that. Yeah,
I was, yeah. I think that was a couple of months ago, but I
yeah,
love the stuff you put out. You speak the truth, and it's nice seeing you getting on some more podcasts and getting your name and
trying,
your stuff out there
brother.
because it counts. It
Thank you,
counts,
brother.
and you got great content. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Well, anyway, D and Curtis saying thanks for stopping by. Go Fins. Curtis and D out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.